your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. We had to get our shop ready to go down to this tattoo expo they had down in Sandy. We were down there all weekend, 3 days straight. The artists that worked here was over there tattooing. 2 of them won some prizes, or they won some awards. Edu, one of our young artists, he won 2 first-place prizes for letterings. Letterings on hand was a category, then lettering on neck and face. And our other artist, Danilo, he won 3rd place for realism for a portrait, which in my opinion should have been in first place. But yeah, just being, I don't want to say I'm the owner of a shop or anything like that, but just having a responsibility of trying to run a business, keep it going, and helping promote the artists and stuff. It's definitely a learning experience, and we're getting better at it, right? So that's where I've been the last couple of weeks. I know I haven't been on here like I want to, but I mean, as you know, I've got like over 300 something stories up, so I'm kind of running short on stories anyway. And I definitely don't want to be someone that makes up stuff. So that being said, let's continue on to where I left off a couple weeks ago. I ended up going to prison when I was 18. It sent me to FCI Florence. I got out around May of '98. But while I was there, like I was telling you guys, things were heating up out here in the '90s. With our rivals, with all of our beefs and stuff. And this whole time, me being in jail while all this is going on, because when I call home, they give me little snippets of what's going on. I'm in my cell chomping at the bit. When I was getting ready to get released from prison, changing my life was the furthest thing from my mind. I wasn't anxious to come home so I could hook up with a girl, or I could eat certain food or go to certain places. My thing back then was I was anxious to get home, so I can do some damage, so I can get in on the war and, get my issue in. And without going into details and all the stuff that happened in '98, that's what I did. When I came home in '98, I was home a month just to get my bearings under me, just to, because after you've been locked up, then you get thrown back out in the world, things are a little off balance. So after I got my foot under me, I went on a mission. And my mission lasted about 6 months. I wasn't very successful at it. My failure was not in the things that I was doing. My failure was in who I was doing the things that I was doing with, who ended up not being able to hold their water. And when they got arrested, they got me charged with, they told on me. Everybody told on me. Not a couple of the homies told on me, but then the dudes I was beefing with told on me. So I ended up with 7 attempts, 14 robberies, and 12 kidnappings. So I was pretty busy during them 6 months, right? But, I've always been a person that, when I get involved in something, I go all in. Just like right now, where my life is, I opened up a tattoo shop, trying to do something positive, trying to share my story to maybe help prevent some of these youngsters from following the same path that I have. And in this time in my life, with that venture, I'm all in. I've never been one of the dudes that like to play both sides of the fence, or for lack of a better word, fake it, right? So this is the life that I'm committed to now, and I'm just going about trying to do what I do. I don't know how exactly I'm going to accomplish everything that I want to do, but definitely every day I'm putting 1 foot forward. So that being said, same thing applied when I was living that life. I was all in. And at that time, my mentality was, it didn't matter if I died, it didn't matter if I lived, it didn't matter if I was out here in the world, or if I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. I had an illusion of what that life was. But when you go down that path, and the deeper you get into the hole, the farther you move away from the light, the harder it is to come back. If you get to a point in your life where you're just like, well, I've gone too far to turn back, so I might as well go all the way. And that was my mentality. So the things that I was doing out here led me up to getting locked up in 98. December 15th of 1998 is when they locked me up. But putting me in a cell didn't kill my spirit. It was just more like, fuck, I'm back in this box. But as far as my mentality, it was still the same. And when I got locked up, everything was, right before I got locked up, everything was coming to a head. The beef that we were having out here, it was people that were seriously getting hurt. Fatal. It was really bad. So when I got locked up, my mentality was still the same. But these dudes, these oppositions, they had the mentality that, oh, when we come to jail, we should all get along because we're all Asian. We should put our beef to the side and ride together because, one, us being Asian, anywhere we go in America, we're gonna be outnumbered, especially if it's incarceration, because there's not too many Asians out here doing stupid shit. A lot of the Asians, they're in colleges, a lot of these kids, they're doing the right thing. But for the few of us, when we get locked up, there's not that very many of us, And these guys, they come to me with the mentality that, oh, we should put our beef to the side because now we're in a hostile environment, we're behind enemy lines, and we have to combat against the whites, the blacks, the Mexicans. We're outnumbered by them 100 to 1, right? But I don't think the way they do. I don't see races as far as, oh, I gotta team up with some other Asians because I'm outnumbered by the whites, or I'm outnumbered by the blacks, or I'm outnumbered by the Mexicans. No, because some of those whites, those blacks, those Mexicans, they eventually became my friends. Because at the end of the day, men recognize men, and they're gonna give you, if you got that respect coming, you're gonna have it. So I've never had an issue about being outnumbered. And my mentality is, I'd rather be by myself than with a bunch of fucking busters. I know one thing for sure, I can count on myself to have my back. Everybody else, until the time comes, they're just paying you lip service. And I'm definitely not of the mentality of hanging out with somebody because we're in jail, when for safety, when it's this dude, I was trying to get this dude on the streets. You're able to run away from me out here. Why the hell would I, once I get you in a space where you can't get away from me, kick it with you? That never made no sense to me. And if I were to do that, I would have felt like I was a buster, because if my homies out on the streets are still putting in that work, are still bumping heads, but I'm in here kicking it with the same dudes that shot up the homie or whatever. That mentality never made any sense to me. Now that stuff does happen. And let me speak on that for a second. When stuff does happen, I would hope that these guys that are sitting at the same table, that are getting along in prison, because they had to make a coalition or an alliance to combat what other enemies they all have. If they're able to do that while they're sitting there in that cell or in that chow hall behind the walls, then they need to do that out here. Because for me, if you're hanging out with them opposition in there, becoming friends, even respecting each other, but you're still calling home, having your homies put in work on these dudes, or allowing the beef to continue without saying something, well, then I'm just gonna look at you like you just being fake, homie, because if we can get along in there, we can get along out here. So that being said, that mentality evolved over a period of time. With time, with life, with years, hopefully you're able to gather some wisdom and know better than do better. But back then, I was still a youngster. I didn't know any better. And I didn't care to know any better. There was a lot of things that happened out here that I didn't want to forgive or let go. So at every opportunity, I'm trying to get it in. So on this occasion, we're in ADC, and I forget what pod I'm in or whatever. They're all like CB, CA, AC, shit like that. But it's the new jail. We were in Old Metro and they transferred us to the new jail. So they put me in this pod, and I'm in this pod with Simone dude named Kelly. I think he used to live out in Midville or something. But we kind of knew the same people or stuff. And one day, I happened to look out my door. Like I said, in the ADC, all your window, all your doors and everything is all big ass plexiglass. The only thing that's metal is the frame and the part where the tray slot is. Everything else under that and above that and on the side of that is all glass. So there's no privacy, right? So I'm living in the corner of the unit right under the TV. I look out and I see this Asian kid walk in. And I look at him and I'm like, oh, that's gotta be one of them. Because back then, everybody had their little hairstyle, right? With the bangs, the dyed bangs, and the ponytail or whatever, horsetail or whatever. Like none of us had the bangs. Like we didn't cut our hair like that because we didn't want people to mistake us for them dudes, right? We didn't have like a particular look or anything, but these dudes did. They all cut their hair the same. They all dyed their hair the same, dressed the same. It was their uniform, so they were easily recognizable, right? So the dude comes in, and I'm looking, and I'm like, man, that's gotta be one of them dudes, right? So I tell the Simone, I see the Asian dude take his stuff, because he just came into the unit, take his stuff and go upstairs. So I tell Simone, homie, I say, hey man, why don't you go ask him where he's from? He's like, all right. So he burns off. So while he's burning off, I'm packing up my property. I got, my legal work, my hygiene, all that. I'm putting it, rolling up in my blanket, tying my sheet around it, because I already know it's one of them dudes, and there's no way I'm gonna live in this block with him, and I'm gonna make sure, I do what I'm supposed to do. So prior to that, after the incident, I get put in this unit. They take me out and they put me in this Supermax unit, and my neighbor next door was the homie Moni from Regulators. So when he sees the CO, when he sees me all belly changed and cuffed up, and threw me in the unit and threw me in the cell next to him, he hopped on the door and he was like, man, I knew you was gonna do that. I was like, what the fuck you talking about? I seen him come in. Cause from where we are, like I said, everything is all windows. So you can look out into the hallway and see who's coming into the unit see the guards escorting the inmates and stuff in. So he had seen them come, and they had put a Tongan dude from Glendale in front of his unit, and they brought the Tongan dude to be his cellie. And the other dude went into my block. So when the Tongan dude comes into Moni's block, to Moni's cell, Moni asked him, hey, who's that Asian dude? They're like, oh, so-and-so. And he's like, oh, where's he from? And they tell him the name, where he's from, which were the people that we were beefing with. It's like, oh. I said, he ain't gonna make it. And the other Tongan was like, what you talking about? He's like, oh, they putting him in there with the homie from TOP. It's like, and? It's like, shit, the homie's gonna smash him out. Nah, we all supposed to get along when we come to jail. And the homie Moni looked at the other dude, and was like, maybe, but not with that dude, not with Mesa, right? So when they come into the unit, like I said, he goes upstairs. When he goes upstairs, the Samoan dude runs up there to go ask him where he's from. So he was gone for about, 2 or 3 minutes or whatever. Samoan dude comes back in. He sees I got all my property all packed up. So I'm like, hey, what's up? Did you hit him up? And Samoan dude was like, nah, I didn't ask him. And I kind of got like, said, what the fuck you mean you didn't ask him? Why didn't you ask him? So I didn't need to. I said, why? Well, because he's got it tattooed right here. Bing, bing, bing. I was like, all right. So I finished putting up my stuff, because I'm gonna go to the shoe. Like for me, it's on site. There ain't no conversation. There ain't no, hey, where you from? What you doing? How you been? None of that. Once I see you, and I'm able to positively identify you, then it's what it is. So I'm staying in my room because I know he knows what I look like. And I've been in the jail for about a year already. And the stuff that's been going on in the jail with me and them reaches back to the street. Because, they're calling home. They're like, yeah, this dude over here, I don't know exactly what they're saying, but if they're telling the truth, they're going to be calling home talking about, yeah, this dude over here is punishing us, right? Be careful if you run into him because he's going to take off on you and he's going to stomp you out. I mean, if they're telling the truth, that's what they should be saying when they call home, right? So I didn't want him to recognize me before I get a chance to bust my move. Now, for me, if we're friends, if we're homies, we know each other, we respect each other, then we can lay down some ground rules, right? If we're gonna get into a confrontation, don't hit me in the balls, don't poke my eyes out, let's fight on the grass, whatever, little kid rules. But in this life that I've lived, when it comes to things like this, it's not ever about, oh, I think I can beat this dude up, or I can exchange punches with him, and let's see who can get in the best lick. For me, my mentality is straight up survival. I gotta get them before they get me, and I don't stop until the threat has been neutralized. Because I've seen a lot of confrontation. When somebody gets caught, get knocked out, and it's a wrap for them. Because the dude that they're fighting, when they get the upper hand and knock somebody out, they're not stopping. They're not like, okay, I knocked him out, I won, let's let him wake back up and be friends. No, when these dudes get knocked out in a confrontation, they're defenseless and they're just a victim. And all you see is dudes dancing on their head, stomp on their head, jumping up and down on it like a trampoline. And for me, when I go into a conflict, when I go into a confrontation like that, that's always in my mind. Don't get knocked out, because you get knocked out, you might not wake back up. And I'd be damned if I'm gonna be somebody's victim. So when it comes to war and stuff like that, the only rules that apply to me, the only rules that I abide by is win. Win by any means. You know, you can agree with it, you cannot, but if anybody has ever been in war, everybody's ever been in battle, everybody's ever been in riots and all the rest of it, the only thing that matters is that you make it out. Because if you don't make it out, you're in trouble, right? You're in seriously trouble. I've seen people that's got their brain kicked in to where they're mentally retarded now. I've seen people get stomped out to the point where the nerves in their body don't function the way they're supposed to. So now they're in a wheelchair or on a walker or got, tics. It's just, I've seen a lot. So I look out my cell and I seen this dude come down the stairs. And where I'm at in the corner, there's a horseshoe. The horseshoe is where the CO's at. The TV's right above my cell in the corner. So the dude comes down and he poses up and watches TV, but he kneels down with his back to the wall of the horseshoe while he's watching TV. Like he's in like a, from where I'm looking, it looks like he's just scoping the place out, not too lax, because he knows he's in jail now and it's hostile. So he's putting the wall to his back so nobody can come up from behind him and all that. And he's done everything he's supposed to do except, being aware of everybody that's in the unit. So he comes in, he kneels down, he squats down and he posts his back to the horseshoe. Well, I come out of my cell. When I come out of my cell, I turn, try to, block my face, and I walk around, act like I was going out to rec, because they have rec that's right in the unit. That the door opens from the unit. You go into a little fucking square, cement square, and get some sunlight from the screen up top. So I act like I walk around because the CO is sitting at the horseshoe. And I go around the horseshoe and I'm behind the horseshoe. The CO's in his chair on the computer and the dude's in front of the horseshoe squatting down watching TV. Now, every 30 minutes or something, the CO's got to get up and go and hit the buttons and all the floors. There's they got like 5 or 6 buttons placed throughout the unit that the CO's got to go. It comes on red and the CO's got to go and push it. I think it was established to make sure that the CO is just not sitting at his desk all day, that he's got to walk around the unit, look in the cell to make sure everybody's alive and well and all the rest of it. So I know it's about time for him to get up and go through his little tour. Because I'm not trying to stomp somebody out or get in a fight in front of a CO where I don't get a chance to do anything before he gets broken up. So at that point in time, the CO gets up, he goes hits it, he walks up, he walks all down the stairs first, the bottom floor first, then he hits the second stair, and he's got to hit, these buttons, one in the corner, one in the middle, and the other corner. So I wait for him to get upstairs and into the middle of the tier so that I know no matter what, it's going to take about the same amount of time for him to get back downstairs to where I'm at. So when he gets up to about the middle of the second tier, I bend the corner, I come around the horseshoe, I take my shirt off. And the reason I take my shirt off is because when I'm in a fight, I don't want somebody grabbing my shirt, my clothes, and all that stuff. Like I said, when I go into these things, I am trying to give myself the best option possible to win. So I come around the corner, I take off my shirt, I come around the corner, and he's kneeling, looking up like this, watching TV. As soon as I come around, I just kick him like a soccer ball right in his face. Bah! His back of his head, hit the wall. He falls over, and I'm kicking him. And I get on top of him. I kicked him about 4 or 5 times, and then I felt like a sharp pain on my foot right here. I think I broke one of my toes. I felt a sharp pain shoot through my body. I was like, ah. So then I just squat on top of him, and I'm just drilling, bing, 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 until I felt, because I think prior to this, about 2 or 3 months earlier, I had broke this finger in a fight, and I'm hitting him, and I can feel that sharp pain shoot up my hand. So I just grabbed onto top of the horseshoe to brace myself, and I just started bouncing on his head. I just started jumping on a trampoline, just right. So I'm up there and I'm jumping on his head. The CO comes running down and he's spraying me. He's spraying me, but I'm covering my eyes. I don't have my glasses on either. I took off my glasses. I'm covering my face, and I'm just stomping him out. I'm just continuing to fucking stomping him out. And the CO is only him in there right at the front. And he doesn't want to physically restrain me, because I've had prior incidents that they don't want to just be trying to rush me. So as I'm stomping him, I see about 20, 30 COs running through the unit. He already hit the deuces to notify. So when they come in the unit, I stop, because now I don't want to get body slammed and beat up by the CO. So I stop, I walk off, I go into my cell. The CO comes and secures my door, locks me in my cell, and all the other COs, they're calling medical and everything, and they're coming over there to check out the dude. And this was my first encounter with Sergeant Tonga that I told you about, when I had assaulted the staff. He was the one that I let cuff me up. So Sergeant Tonga comes to my door, pops it open, walks in, and he's like, "Oh, I see you already got all your stuff packed up." I don't say anything. He was like, "Well, I'm ready to go, because I know I'm going to a lockdown unit, right?" So he's standing in the doorway. I'm sitting on the chair. My property's on the top bunk, already packed up, ready to be moved out. And he looks at me, and I don't really know what the process was going on in his head, but he looks back out into the day room. They got the medical staff out there, and the dude's unconscious. He's laying there. There's a pool of blood that just swarmed around his body. And when I mean like swarmed around his body, I mean like he's in a puddle. And then there was another puddle, which was urine. Whatever. Like he emptied out his bladder, everything. He's there. The medical staff, they're not sure how to move him onto the stretcher, because he's gotten a lot of head wounds. Like that's the only place that I hit was his head, and they don't know if his neck is broke. They don't know the damages that he sustained. So they're over there trying to figure out how to put him safely on the stretcher. And while I'm in the room with Sergeant Tonga, Sergeant Tonga was like, "Man, that guy might be dead out there." And he didn't get a reply from me, because at this point in time, I don't have a lot of conversations for COs, right? But he looked at me and he was like, "Well, I guess you don't really care, huh?" And he just asked me to turn around and cuff up. That's it. I turned around, I let him cuff up, and they took me to Supermax. Now retelling that story, being the person I am today, is kind of surreal that you can do something like that. Speaking about myself personally, and not feel anything about it. You know, that was how deep my hatred was. I had no concerns, no consciousness of these other people's well-being or safety. It was just, my mentality was, I'm trying to put all of you guys in the dirt. You know, especially at that time, I was facing a lot of time in prison. And, you know, my reality at that time was I was never gonna come back home. So my mentality was just press the gas and go hard. And if I make it back home, I make it back home. If I don't, I don't. You know, thinking back now, being in that mind frame is a scary way to live. Not scary for me, as in like I was scared of. It's scary that us as people can get to that state in mind that we really don't give a F about our life or anybody else's life. And you know, I have a lot of gripes about the time that I got doing the 26 years that I got, but looking back now from their perspective, from the people that sentenced me, the courts, the system, and all that stuff, it's understandable that they thought I was a danger to the community. And I was. I was not in a good place in the 90s. But I'm grateful that I'm able to come home with some sanity, and hopefully I'll be able to continue to do things better. Welcome to the USP.